Today, we're going to dive into the topic of how AirDNA works. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a tool out there that helped you analyze short-term rentals to see if they were a good deal or not? Well, there actually is, and it's called AirDNA. And in this video, I'm going to show you how AirDNA can help you analyze and determine whether a short-term rental is a good deal or not for you. So what is AirDNA and how does it work? How does it help you analyze markets and potential short-term rentals? And what metrics does it pull? And how does one use it to its full potential? Well, today I'll answer those questions and I'll show you the things that I've done with AirDNA that have helped me analyze all of my short-term rental investments. If you're ready, let's go. First off, what is AirDNA? Well, it's a play on the word short-term rental, STR, specifically Airbnb, and all its internal makeup and data, or DNA. So AirDNA. It's the site that compiles all the data for short-term rentals and vacation rentals throughout the world. And it helps hosts, managers, and investors navigate markets with as much applicable and accurate data as possible. For us, basically it's a tool that helps us find a good deal. And never before have we had this kind of data that helps us make such informed decisions as hosts, property managers, or investors. I think about how cool that is. All this data is compiled to help us make a good decision on whether a short-term rental or vacation rental is really a good purchase or not. So the next question is, how does AirDNA work? Generally speaking, it gathers data on a massive scale and analyzes it. First, it is scraping or extracting data from every listing on Airbnb or Vrbo, from daily calendar pricing to cancellation policies and booking lead time. They then aggregate and process this comprehensive data on over 10 million properties in 120,000 different international markets. That's massive when you think about it. And the cool thing is it's all legal. Matter of fact, AirDNA maintains a great relationship with Airbnb and Vrbo because they mutually benefit from it. I mean, think about it. The data that they gather empowers both Airbnb and Vrbo to set certain prices and to establish certain markets where there's transparency for all of those individuals I mentioned before, from investors, hosts, and property managers. The second thing they do is they partner with channel managers, hosts, and property management to over 1.1 million properties worldwide. So let's combine these two things, scraping all that data and the partner data. And AirDNA rules when it comes to powerful data that we can use as investors, property managers, or hosts. However, there's one piece of data that's really important to analyze when looking at AirDNA, and it is the booked nights that are actually booked by clients or people that want to stay there versus blocked nights. Blocked nights are the nights that the owners are blocking off. They're going to stay there themselves, or they're just blocking it off to be clean, or whatever might happen. They might just want to block it off for a month because they know that month is a little bit more challenging and they want to reduce the wear and tear on the property. So booked nights versus blocked nights is an important piece of data to understand. And the cool thing is, since its inception in 2015, AirDNA has been utilizing AI tools to determine the difference between blocked nights and booked nights, and to understand the difference. And although I can't tell you how they do it, them knowing how to do it is so vital to their business that I have some faith in them that they're putting forth their best foot in order to be able to understand the difference between the two. And I believe it's only going to get better and better. So I know that's a ton of data about AirDNA, maybe more than you wanted to know, but I think it's an important base to understand how it works and why it works and how it came about. Now let's dive into how this can help you as an investor or as a host, and understand how the data can help you make an informed decision as an investor. Now, with most platforms, there's different levels that you can engage with this platform, and AirDNA is no different. Now, with the free version, AirDNA provides you three things: the average occupancy rate, the average nightly rate, and the average monthly revenue that comes in. Now, with a basic plan that's $15 a month, you get a little bit more than that you do with the free version. And the most popular one that I recommend is the Pro version, and that's $25 a month, but it's typically billed annually. And then they have a $1,200 a month one that's typically for teams or large organizations. Now, I don't know why somebody would use that or what they use it for. Maybe you do, or maybe you know people that do, and I'd love to hear why they do that. But there is a very expensive version that's for businesses and teams. So when I first started looking at STRs about 3 to 4 years ago, I utilized AirDNA. Once I found the markets that I wanted to invest into, I utilized AirDNA to help me narrow it down, right? So I Googled all the best areas to own vacation rentals. Once I had a handful of areas that were elevating towards the top, I then took those areas and I looked on AirDNA to get the data and the metrics that I needed. And the first thing I would look at is I would look at the potential annual revenue, right? And I would actually go on there to an area and I would click on a potential home that was on AirDNA or Airbnb. Then I would click on its Airbnb or Verbo listing to see on their calendar what occupancy looked like compared to what AirDNA said, right? So if they're saying, hey, occupancy is typically 60%, and I could look on their calendar and there wasn't any bookings for a long period of time, I was a little bit suspicious, right? So I would do some of that research to make sure that the areas that I was looking in matched up with the actual homes that were listed on AirDNA. And once I had that, if I looked at the annual revenue, that's where I'd come back to my calculator, which is really important. So I've talked about this in other episodes, but I think it's worth mentioning here is how I analyze based on annual revenue, whether it's a good deal or not. So if annual revenue on a short-term rental is at least 10% of the purchase price, it's a decent deal. If it's 15%, if annual revenue is 15% of the purchase price, it's a good deal. If annual revenue is 20% of the purchase price, it's a really good deal. And if annual revenue is 25% of the purchase price, it is a fantastic deal. Do not pass it up. So keep that in mind as you look for short-term rental deals that you're investigating. When I continue to analyze on AirDNA, obviously I look at occupancy rate like I talked about. I look at the monthly revenue that comes in and annualize that out. But I also look at the nightly rate that you can charge in the area. Now, because there's two schools of thoughts. You can raise revenue one of two ways. You can either increase the nightly rate or increase the occupancy rate. Now, obviously, to increase the occupancy rate, you might need a lower price, right? And if you raise the price, occupancy rate might come down. But if you could put some amenities in there that justify the increase in the nightly rate, that would have more people stay there even at the higher price, those are some things to consider. But the two schools of thoughts is increasing one of those things to really get your short-term rental at the place where you'd like it to be to produce the most amount of revenue as possible. One of the cool things about AirDNA right now that it's only getting better is they've got an AI score. So you can go to a certain area, and if the AI score is high, then it means it's a good area. One area that I've looked in recently is Charleston, South Carolina, and the AI score is really good, meaning that the occupancy rate is good, the nightly rate is good, and the monthly revenue is good. So those are something to consider. They're trying to make it easier for you when you're analyzing areas just by an AI score that's going to give you the data where you can then say, okay, this meets my criteria, and you can do a deeper dive into the data to see if it makes sense. So a couple of real world examples. I had found two areas that I was really interested in that were always at the top of the best places to own a vacation rental or short-term rental, and it was Broken Bow, Oklahoma, and it was Blue Ridge, Georgia. So when I started looking there, I dove into AirDNA and I started seeing, okay, what was the average nightly rate? What was the occupancy rate? But I wanted to find some place that was unique in both of them that would give us that opportunity to then expand, right? Maybe increase the nightly rate and maybe even increase the occupancy. And the place we found in Blue Ridge, Georgia had amazing views, right? And it has been one of those things, even though people might say that's in a saturated area, it's been an area that's produced at least $75,000 annually on a property that we bought for $500,000. So it met that metric of 15%. So annual revenue is 15% of the purchase price, and it's been a really good investment from us. We've done a few things to spice it up, make it even more enticing, but utilizing AirDNA gave us the ability to make an informed decision to say, listen, this is an area that I really like. This is a property I like. And I think by doing these things or having this view is going to raise the average occupancy rate and the average nightly stay. And one last example, we own a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. And people might say, why would you own a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom? But it was a destination for couples to go. There was an alternative to a hotel stay, but somewhere nice. I mean, it had a hot tub. It had a lot of different amenities that really made staying there as a couple. It has a fireplace, a 2-way fireplace that's in the bedroom and the living area. And people love it. They go there, they stay there often. And once again, it is one of those that met the metrics of 15% or higher. And buying it 2 or 3 years ago, we had a really low interest rate, so it's been a good investment for us. So AirDNA should be on your radar if you're looking to buy a short-term rental because it helps you analyze it. By pulling all that data and aggregating the data to give you a score if it's a good deal or not, but giving you a deeper dive to understand if it's a good investment or not. Now, this is how I've used AirDNA. I'd love to hear your feedback. What advantages, disadvantages have you seen with AirDNA? Please comment below. I'd love to engage in a dialogue. And as always, I've got my short-term rental vacation calculator available at no charge, aaronsfreetraining.com. Just click on the link below. There's no charge. You put in the information of the purchase price, all the expenses, and it spits out to you whether it's a good deal or not. And once again, thanks for stopping by. Have an awesome day.